What's up, audit fans? Dr. Amanda here with our next video in the Standards Explained series on ASA ISA706 about emphasis of matter paragraphs and other matter paragraphs in the audit report. Now I'm just going to apologize ahead of time. You can hear some funny background noise. I tried to find a quiet spot. I'm actually in transit recording this while on the road, but I know that my students have their exams coming up really soon, and 706 is the last one that they need in the video series. So my apologies for the squeaky noise that you can hear in the background. If we have a look at the introduction and the table of contents, there's requirements, just a few paragraphs on the emphasis of matter standard and the other matter paragraphs, and then a whole lot of explanatory material where you've got a whole lot of examples of what these standards might look like in emphasis of matter paragraphs, and then some useful appendices that will actually help you work backwards to find out where you might need to contain or include information about emphasis of matter or other matter paragraphs. As usual, ISA 706 and ASA 706 are internationally aligned, so if you're an international student, then this video should be suitable for you as well. So what is the standard all about? If we go to the scope of the standard, the key here is that we're dealing with additional communication. So sometimes we want to draw users' attention to information presented or disclosed in the financial report, or draw their attention to other information that's not in the specific financial report, but perhaps in the annual report altogether. Now remember that when we think about our annual report, we have our entire annual report, all right, for company XYZ, and then inside that report there will often be a number of different sections. So one of those sections is the income statement, the balance sheet, the notes to the accounts, and the auditor's report. All right, so those parts are specifically the financial report. Then you might have a whole lot of other information at the beginning. All right, so there's usually something that talks about the progress of the business, information from directors, etc. There might be reports on what the future holds for that company. So when we're looking at emphasis of matter and other matter paragraphs, we have to distinguish between what we're looking at from within the financial report and what we're looking at in other information. So that's the key to think about here when we're looking at these differences. Now, of course, we already know that ASA 701 talks about key audit matters. These things are different from emphasis of matter and other matter paragraphs. So our key audit matters are only about areas where the auditor perhaps is engaging in increased effort because of increased risk, perhaps driven by a number of different factors. You can look at my video on 701 about that. But 701 key audit matters aren't necessarily going to be things that could be included in an emphasis of matter or an other matter paragraph. So what is the objective of this standard? The objective of the auditor, having formed our opinion on the financial report, is to draw users' attention. All right. So what we're really doing here is we're highlighting. So we're saying, okay, yes, the auditor is saying, yes, shareholders, you've read the entire annual report, but we're adding an extra highlight. We're waving our hand because we think that something is really important. So what sort of definitions do we need to know for this particular standard? There's an emphasis of matter paragraph and an other matter paragraph, and we'll talk about the requirements of when to give each of those down here. All right, let's start with the emphasis of matter paragraph, and I'll do these in different colors. I'll do the emphasis of matter in green. So if I'm going to draw attention to something presented or disclosed in the financial report, so really that is something that is included in the profit and loss, income statement, the balance sheet, the cash flow statement, the notes to the account, then there I'm going to use, if I want to flag this to shareholders and to readers, then I'm going to do it through an emphasis of matter. Okay. Now, these are not modifications to the opinion. So if I have a disagreement with management or a limitation with scope, I would not do it in an emphasis of matter paragraph. I would include it in the opinion section of the modification. All right. So the section where we have to explain why we've given the modification, we talk about that there. So it's not going to be reasons why we'd modify, and it's not going to be key audit matters. So it says here, the matter has not been determined to be a key audit matter. So if it's key audit matter, it goes in that other section. Now, when I include an emphasis of matter, so when I do include an EOM, what do I have to do? I have a separate section of the auditor's report with the title emphasis of matter and a clear paragraph that talks about what is being emphasized and where the relevant disclosures can be found in the financial report. So we're saying management has already discussed this in the notes. So management have already made a disclosure, and all I'm doing is I am emphasizing it. Okay. Now, if management refuses, so if we request a disclosure and management refuses to include something, then we go to our qualified or our disclaimer, and instead of an emphasis of matter in the actual opinion modification description, I'll include that. So this is only for something that management have already disclosed when management are actually doing the right thing. Now, what about other matter paragraphs? And I'm going to do other matter in yellow. And there's often a lot of confusion with students about other matter paragraphs. So this is when I'm going to communicate a matter other than those presented or disclosed in the financial report, but we think it's relevant to users understanding our responsibilities or the audit report, then I need to include this other matter paragraph. So really, this is something in the annual report usually other than the financial report. Now remember, most annual reports have a glossy sort of front section, and then the financial report is usually a different type, a different font, lots of numbers, lots of text disclosures. Sorry about that ding there for that bell. It was an announcement of where I'm actually at the moment. I have that other matter paragraph, and I can include it as long as it's not prohibited by law. So there might be a law about secrecy or specific information that we can't disclose, and again, not a key audit matter. So what do I have to do when I have my other matter paragraph? I include a paragraph with a separate section and the appropriate description. When I'm using these emphasis of matter, which you'll see as EOM or other matter paragraphs, I also have to make sure that I communicate that to those charged with governance, along with what I expect the audit opinion is going to be. So I don't just spring my audit opinion and emphasis of matter or other matter on the client. I actually give them plenty of time to look at the opinion, and there's no expectation of negative market reaction associated with an other matter or emphasis of matter paragraph. I know that I don't normally talk about explanatory paragraphs, but I wanted to draw your attention to Appendix 1. This is a good one to have, where it talks about the auditing standards that have a requirement for an emphasis of matter paragraph. Now, there might be a couple of ones that you already recognize, ASA 560 for subsequent events, and potentially from ASA 210 about agreeing the terms of engagements, ASA 500 as well. As I mentioned, we don't see many other matters, but the sorts of areas where we might see other matter paragraphs could be a subsequent event if management haven't disclosed. Obviously, we'd need to go with a disagreement with management, but there are some instances where we may have a sub-event that could be in an other matter, comparative information, or responsibilities relating to other information. Remember that other information is really the front half of the annual report. That is not the financial report itself. So that's it for ASA 706 on emphasis of matter and other matter paragraphs. I hope my students and other readers or watchers out there have found this video useful. As always, if you thought it was great, give us a thumbs up. Click to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!